All right, folks, we're back, but just in time for the game to start. You probably saw a little bit of a lag there. That's concerning, but no drop frames, so we're still good on that part. ByuN versus SortOf, as we get into Frozen Temple for the first game in this brand new best of 3. This is not quite a qualifying match, but this will lead into a qualifying match, as this bottom half of the bracket will probably be a little bit delayed due to whatever that Revolver Nefasti game is.
Yo, no, man. It was Fighting Frog and Nefast. Like, they didn't start for a long time, and neither of them were, like, around. Or they took forever. But, like, damn, I don't think Nefast was actually moved up to the bracket until the end of our last best of.
So, that could take some time. But if it does, that means we just got more matches to cast, which I don't have a problem with. But we're in game number 1 of a fresh best of 3, spawning down here in the bottom right. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I love his cute little clan emote. It's going to be the Blue Zerg player, SortOf.
The cootie patootie. In the top left, as the Red Heron, he is ByuN.
All right, so ByuN, obviously, again, probably one of the favorites coming into this, but this is a situation where I think SortOf is a caliber player where I think if ByuN's playing half-assedly and basically not at Super Saiyan Beast mode, I think SortOf can take him on. And ByuN's probably not turning this up to 10. Like, this isn't a GSL, SSL, Pro League match or anything like that. This is him playing an online cup, so I don't know to what degree ByuN takes it seriously. I do know he's already feeling like joking around a little bit. For example, for whatever reason, he's trying to convince us that he wasn't ByuN, so I messaged him on Skype. I'm like, dude, I don't know if it's you or not, but like if it's not, then we have to ban this person because they're impersonating you. He's like, no, it's me. Ha ha ha. ... I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. Whatever floats your boat.
He just made a simple joke, and Rifkin was like, "Oh my god, is that not him? Oh my god." No,
my concern was because for those who don't know the story behind it, Speak Now was originally not ByuN's account. When he got back into StarCraft, he didn't have access to his account because I guess his old team owned it, or however the story went for that. So he had to play on Speak Now for a while. So my concern was, is this guy actually Speak Now? So ByuN decided to play with me a little bit on that, and it wasn't until I was like, dude, like if this isn't like actually you, this is problems. He's like, no, it's me. But he's going for Rax Reaper into this, and this is against Zerg, so it's a totally viable strategy. It's just interesting to see this not being proxied on account of how much it's been proxied recently.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was gonna say. It sort of kind of checked for it. First of all, he prepared against it.
He sort of kind of checked for it.
He prepared against it with an early pool, so he could get as many queens, or the queen out as fast as possible, and then any lings out as well, pretty quickly. Ooh. So he knew something like cheesy was going to happen. He probably expected to be proxied as well, though, because his overload kind of took like a dip to look for like that proxy location, and then went back up. But of course, as we know, it was in the base, and now SortOf knows as well. It's just too many Reapers coming out too fast for it not to be multiple barracks. So it's still going to be tricky to defend, because if this gets up to 6-7 Reapers, then they're going to take on almost anything SortOf can really throw at him, including like large amounts of lings and queens and even the roaches that are on the way. But SortOf is making all the right steps right now, and it's not snowballing yet. So ByuN is going to try and expand off of this, which he's really going to do something if his expand's going to work.
I mean, for example, we saw TLO and some others shut this down with just lings, and that's sometimes okay. This when players aren't playing like with the best control, yada yada yada. And as we see, a lot of lings getting on top of Reapers and try and cut them off as they would go up that cliff. I really liked the Roach Warren coming down though as safety. We don't see a huge investment in Roaches right now, but again, like just the emphasis being one Ravager can really stop a lot of Reapers. Not saying you can only rely on one Ravager forever, but still, as we can see, good defense so far out of SortOf. Transfuses have been on point, hasn't lost anything too drastic yet, and of course, most importantly, the drone lane was kept intact. But the downside is he has, because he's had to invest in so many of these army units, doesn't have a lot of drones, period.
Right, so it seems like the Reaper attack is it seems a little BS when you look at it like this. You know, they went for what is a lot of barracks for the command center. Their economy should be shot, and they didn't do any damage. Like they should obviously lose, which actually it's not the case. SortOf could have used arguably over defended, but really if he didn't, then that's when ByuN tries to push in and win and just throw grenades everywhere basically. So it's not that he over defended, he just had to defend like he did, which is at the cost of quite a few drones. So ByuN's got his command center up, he's up workers, just definitely not ideal.
So I'm wondering actually if, Because there's the cost to this, right? Like, okay, you cost sort of some mining because he's missing workers. But at the same time, you invested so much gas into these Reapers that are now more or less just useless supply. I mean, grenades are always going to be good, and Reapers have some decent damage to them, but it was in not at all the same way. Still costly for ByuN to have gone for this.
It is, but it's like, if nothing happens in the next minute or so, then ByuN's gonna have he's had triple racks production that just went into Marines, right? So that's a lot of Marines coming down with each production cycle. He's got enough for stim and upgrades. It's really his tech that is delayed, which makes the most sense. All that gas went to the Reapers. So medevacs won't be out soon, and you know that's gonna give sort of a little bit of time not to worry, because the Reapers do have to take the threat of aggression seriously. But I guess now ByuN feels very confident. He's got the production going. He's got, you know, wall up at home. He's going to use these Reapers, maybe to suicide, maybe just to see what the army looks like. And they see so many roaches, he's not going to bother tangoing with it. And honestly, if these Reapers just stay with the army's push, they can be better than Wood Mines. They can be better than tanks. Like, getting those roaches to fly around, getting banelings, if there were any, to actually spread is be very useful.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, where like that like half of a second that they're in the air, they're crowd controlled. They can't do anything, they can't run away, they can't attack. I mean, you get enough of those just flying around, suddenly roaches are missing out on all their attacks. Some, not quite like a point defense drone, but the same logic.
Yeah. They're a pretty good addition. So again, this kind of like looks BS to see how much ByuN invested into it, but this is a common thing we've seen back when 3-racks non-proxies were actually very common. So like on Preon terraces and whatnot, they were super common to actually try and macro into.
So going forward though, I really like that SortOf didn't overinvest into the defense for this. He's moved on to Roach Ravager. He's definitively playing this style. We're gonna have this actually probably be somewhat decent, because we've seen just many Zerg players. Nurture is one of them, of course, amongst others, who have been using this style, not just for like that mid-game sort of scrapping, but you add the Infestors, suddenly Corrosive Bile and Fungal Growths are the deadliest combo you've ever seen. This is not a bad thing, and taking the top of the ramp with Corrosive Biles is probably the best defense you could hope for. But numbers-wise, this push out of ByuN is really scary. Yeah. Even though half of it's Reapers.
It's hitting just before combat shields and just before SortOf's 1-1, so I think he waits for combat shields, then 1-1 should finish up for SortOf. I really like that SortOf finally had Lings on the side of the map, by the way, to stop the command center being put down on location. That's something that ByuN got away with as natural, which isn't, I guess, really supposed to happen, so the third was cancelled. But this is a very big army, and SortOf, even if his upgrades are finishing up here, he's already lost the third base. His army's just not very good at being roaches.
I love they pulled the drones, though. Didn't lose workers for this, just the hatchery. That's something you can kind of accept for the time being, but unfortunately, while he's being zoned out by the grenades earlier, at a point, yeah, he's going to have to take a fight. He gets blown into the bio. Oh, that's not going to look too good. Roach is scrapping out best they can, but the more time they spend flying, the less time they spend attacking, and ByuN just crushes what little is left, and I think SortOf, unfortunately, just barely doesn't have enough to hold on to the defense anymore. GG.
No, he's not. GG! Well.
Game one gonna go to ByuN. And yeah. It's frustrating because there's no argument to be made saying like, no guys, Reapers are like, whatever, like you can't get away with them, because you can. We oftentimes see Reapers get out of control. It's just very interesting to see them be such an influence to that final battle instead of the early game snowball that we see.
That's a game that SortOf's got to be like kind of frustrated with. I actually can't, I don't know what he could have done better, except maybe the Ling should have been on top of that natural command center, because the Reapers were on top of the ramp. Maybe they could have gotten behind him, or actually investing into a push with Ravagers. I don't know. If he gets less roaches and just depends on his queens and Lings, the amount of Reapers that ByuN did get would still have been enough to push through that. But I don't think not going for roaches was the answer either, and getting more drones.
So what I find kind of interesting too to consider is like it's watching games in moments like that where, again, I wish Archon mode was a bigger thing. It would be so cool to actually have definitive Terran armies that have these Reapers where one player is controlling them, specifically like do the crowd control grenades, while the other like does the perfect splits and micro, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, these are hypothetical worlds where we're not seeing these games happening anytime in the near future, but it's cool to think about. And again, stuff like that makes me love StarCraft, just that you can nerd out about even thinking about that stuff. At any rate, game number 2 kicking off into Dusk Towers. Oh.
I'm getting the problem you had.
What problem?
I can only hear like every couple of words in a sentence.
Well, I'm the one hosting. Do you want to try calling back and see if you hosting makes it any different or better?
Sure.
Okay. Just give her a second to get the call back up, guys. We'll see what goes on. I hope this wasn't just like a temporary fix. I'd be very sad if that's the case. But okay, back once again. Hello and welcome as we get into game number 2. In the upper right side of the map, he's playing for, I'm guessing, the Department of Justice. It's sort of.
In the bottom left, as the Red Terran, he is ByuN.
Okay, so scary build out of ByuN. Definitely worked out well in game 1. Dust Towers is a map where maybe you could try and pull that off again on, and maybe feels like, that was easy, I'll do it twice in a row, but hopefully and ideally sort of doesn't have to take the damage you did or even deal with those tactics. I think this is a map, again, where like as a Zerg player too, you're hoping for that late game, you're hoping for that macro, you want to be able to play with Ultras.
Yeah, duh. But, so the way that I was imagining things going, and I was gonna lay out my plan and the last best of 3, but things are actually happening, so I figured I'd save it for now. The way that I see things going down for the next couple of matches, because I think that ByuN is going to face Bly eventually, although Bly's really, his side of the bracket's really held up, is that he's going to push in the mid game or cheese in the early game, and just steamroll, to be honest. Like, I'm actually not so sure that any Zerg's gonna be able to get to late game with him. Because it's been the case for like 6 years almost, where don't really want to knock all the European and American Terrans that we've seen, but there is something arguably special about Korean Terrans. Like it's like a phrase that existed because they were so good. Korean Terrans, not Korean Protosses or Korean Zergs. But their mid-game pushes just need to be so much stronger and so much like deadlier, and they hit like so much cleaner that a lot of times you just see the Zergs not prepared for it. So that's what my predictions are.
I don't disagree, and I think a lot of times when we're casting even some of the foreigners like Euthermal, who are probably the closest to it, we still see it fall short, like in that best of 15 finals. Either way, we'll see how that ends up actually going. I think we'll end up we will almost certainly be casting the first semifinal in the top half of the bracket either way, before we get to see ByuN again after the series though, because the bracket is so delayed.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't tab out right now. Do we have results for that yet? Do we know who's going in?
ByuN did beat Strange.
Okay.
So, and then Guru's answer is still going on.
I'm feeling it for Guru, man. It's funny how many pro gamers give Guru so much crap too, by the way, like constantly making fun of like A moving or just giving him shit for like being unskilled, blah blah blah. But Guru is like consistently in the top of our tournaments and regularly in like the semifinals, if not the finals.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing which Zerg, I guess, goes up against ByuN. I have pretty great faith that whichever Zerg gets through is going to beat ByuN. Unless ByuN is on his game.
If we want to get really far ahead of ourselves, right? Like really far ahead of ourselves, I'm going to think about the groups for a moment. Let's assume ByuN makes it to a group. We're going to assume ByuN gets through that group too. It's ByuN after all. Solar probably gets through his other group, no problem. So 3 of the 4 people in the round of like 16 are going to be like ByuN, Solar, and Snoot in a group.
Ooh. Yeah, of course, you guys don't recall, there are the 4 players that were the top of their respective regions from last tournament that are just seeded in.
Yeah,
so.
We invited them back directly because so Snoot sits at the wild card invite, Mana for the European one, Rogue for the Korean one, and Masa for the North American one.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, well, Dak comes here with the Hellions, and looks like sort of is in position with the Lings. He just has to make sure they don't get to the mineral line. It's not necessarily about getting all these kills right away, and then you just pull a couple of drones, and boom, easy peasy, cleans these up.
It's really dumb how like 8 Lings can be so different out on the map. They're
versus
so bad
here,
out on the map, but they're so good if they're just like any type of tight corner or somewhat tight corner. Well, they're all you need really against the aliens.
It's really cool too because like obviously in like a matter of 1 second we can draw attention to it, but sort of also split his Lings there at the last moment for those that caught it. Like that was really awesome to see. We now have a Liberator heading towards the main though, and this looks like this could be a Spore Crawler for it. This shouldn't be too problematic.
I think that's the only reason ByuN even bothered to send the Hellions in. He thought he wasn't going to split his Lings, which is pretty cool.
It's just like foreigners.
Well, yeah, like they were going in direct line to his Hellions. I thought the same thing. Like, oh god, no, they're all going to die. It's not supposed to happen.
Not like this. Not like this.
is doing very well in this early game defense. I guess gotta move his Spore Crawler, and this is okay damage to be taken from a Liberator. Ideally none, but that seems to never happen. He's not going for Mutilating Bling. I gotta note this for maybe 2 months after people found out Mutilating Bling was decent enough. It was always the go-to for Dusk Towers, but it seems to be swinging back into the favor of Roaches, specifically similar to what we saw Nurture doing in the best of 15. So we saw 15 games, basically the exact same thing from Nurture. If you don't know what it is by now, I can't help you, but it's just Roaches with melee upgrades and Ultras, or sometimes missile upgrades, but most of the time melee upgrades.
You're wrong, actually, because you can help them by telling them to go to our YouTube, youtube.com/BaseTradeTV, and watching the VODs.
Hey. Right?
Actually, I gotta give it, like, we've been getting some really nice comments on his behalf too, but Nice Username has seriously been getting these VODs up like same day thing. Like last night's games were up like the evening of type deal. Like he has been an all-star with making sure YouTube content is up to date right away. So if you guys ever miss games on the channel, you will at most usually only be waiting a couple hours before they're made available. Of course, if you really can't wait those couple of hours, you can always check out the Twitch VODs by subscribing to the channel and all that good stuff. You know, there's that self-sellout thing, but Nice Username seriously has been making our YouTube channel a way better experience.
Mm-hmm. And here's exactly what I was talking about. We got the melee upgrades on the way, layer timing out so you can kind of just start the 2-2 as soon as possible, as well as the Infestation Pit and all that jazz. But more importantly is SortOf has to survive this mid-game push that I was talking about. Nurture made it look very easy in like 12 out of 15 of those games in the map tournament, but maybe that's because Thermal just didn't have that quite like Korean timing push, right? Like the one that's all magical and whatnot. We'll see what ByuN does.
It's funny because we keep referencing Nurture, and obviously he's not playing today, but Nurture was also one of the first foreigners to actually beat ByuN when he was on that like 20-something, 20-0 like win streak he had going on.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I kind of forgot about that, but ByuN was like undefeatable at one point. He did go down to Nurture. So this double medevac drop that went straight to the 4th base was really good that SortOf didn't anticipate going to the main, because those are the 2 options basically. Third option being clear up creep, but that's kind of like the takeaway. It's the thing you're almost guaranteed to have, but it's not ideal. ByuN is bulking up more units in the back. I'm surprised he took this fight. Like, I really think he's going to lift up immediately. He loses about 8 Marines. Probably okay. Still has a decent army supply. Now picks up the rest of his army to go to that main base that I was talking about. We have some units here. Probably enough if they catch the medevac unloading. And SortOf's defenses look very good.
I love, by the way, people start in chat discussing the best of 15, and then not Bunny. Kitty the Neko drops the knowledge bomb of the Snoop Bunny best of 69 that we cast. 18.5 hours.
It's like a kind of copy paste. I love it.
He's like the only one. I don't even know those stats. He's always got them though. Hive Tech starts up. It's this point where it was consistently, and this was specifically talking about Koreans versus Koreans. You would see players like Solar and Sulky and True and others die to these pushes that would hit before the Ultras Cavern even got to start, before the Ultras Cavern even finished. So hopefully SortOf can bring this back. The depot's down after all. ByuN actually does have to turn his army around to come back home and defend this.
Yeah, this was a really nicely set up little counterattack. So I'm gonna get a couple SCVs. It doesn't get like really a lot done, but even bringing back the army for 10 seconds is very important.
I would say
ByuN tries to get some revenge. Drops the main. Drops on top of a Spore Crawler and a bunch of units.
Medevac goes down there too. I would say getting the army to come back home was actually a pretty big deal. Again, a lot of this is so heavily based on timing, and it's not like you can chrono out that hive and make it build any faster. Those 10 seconds are pretty crucial. Not to mention there's still more Lings over here poised and ready to try and bring it back again. I love that SortOf's not doing this in terms of trying to get in and just do damage frivolously. He's very much wanting to keep bringing that army back if at all possible. I mean, he could go in right now and kill this 4th command center. Looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. This is such a precious building because it's so close to finishing. ByuN just says screw it and cancels immediately. Then he's not going to come back home. He doesn't need to come back home.
Oh, I don't know about that. He was bulking up quite a few Marines. His reinforcement army could have taken care of it. It was like he just didn't want to pay attention to it. He was worried that he would get fungled or like Corsair Gear or something.
I think it's a smart move, to be honest.
I don't know.
It's costly, obviously, but we'll see. Because right now, there's the Ultras Cavern. It's getting focused down by some Marines. Stimmy on top of it really wants to get the kill on it. Looks like Ultras Cavern will die. Attack to the south, drawing a lot of attention. Looks like we got a couple of fungals that did go off, but a lot more where those came from. Those infestors still have a ton of energy.
Yeah. Getting a little too far forward away from, well, the single tank that wasn't even going to help out pretty much to begin with. And this
ByuN
attack
gets crushed.
is being pushed back, and he is down 40 army supply without a 4th base. I guess it's rebuilding now.
So, I mean, okay, let's talk about, like, what happened here, though, right? This is so crazy. Like, he kills the Ultros Cavern, and that's great. And for ByuN, probably thinks, I'm in a fantastic spot now. I don't know that he anticipated taking such a bad fight to the south. That looked like a good army, and then surprise, Fungals and Ravagers are a devastating combination. That, reminding everybody, don't really need upgrades because of the way Corsair Gear works, being a spell and all. So, this out of SortOf now, he's got to be careful. He might give away his lead that he just won. He Crucibles one of his own Ravagers down. He's not dealing with the Liberators. Walks into this bio army. His army supply still holds strong, but these infestors are pretty much dry. I can't say this is an attack worth committing to.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to get him the win, but it will buy him more time. I like that ByuN, he is playing the longer game. He's getting a 4th base. He's getting 3-3. He's not really adding to his Liberator account, which we'll see if that's his plan anyway. I don't know, maybe he's gonna go ghosts, but he's also dropping at the same time, so he's not just being static and defensive and turtley. He's actually trying to get something done, even if it's not doing too much. He killed an Ultras Cavern, that's pretty important. It might just get this 5th base, which is pretty important too. Don't let them get that huge bank that makes them easily replace all of these tier 3 units.
Oh, that one medevac though. Rip. I do want to comment on the Ultras aspect of this though, because we've been discussing this a lot lately, and like a lot of Terran players just kind of hitting a brick wall when it comes to the late game. I'm not sure what style ByuN's playing right now, because honestly it's been a while since we've seen him, but ByuN was the first person to figure out ghosts work, and when he did that, he started abusing the shit out of them, and it almost looked like broken. Like, how is Zerg ever going to have a chance to win if Terran just makes like 4 ghosts, right? We'll see if it goes down that direction or not, because he still hasn't built or invested in any sort of academy. He knows about the Ultros Cavern, he knows what timing for it. He's dropped it twice now, after all.
ByuN is kind of pulling sort of a little bit apart now, with very, very dangerous maneuvers, I might add. Like, that's a lot of Marauders, you know, and they're the ones that come out one at a time, and they're a little more expensive than Marines. So that was costly. If the medevacs are ever fungled, obviously very, very costly, and well, luckily, like, they only lost the Marauders. Like, the medevacs weren't fungled. The other drop, I believe, left. Yeah, it's coming back home now. It ended up being worth it, but it was very scary for ByuN if everything just went like 1 second faster on those fungals.
Yeah.
Probably
Okay, so
army.
now we're on Ultras, and now we're on Chitinous Plating. And by the way, this type of game here, this is the game I was expecting to see out of SortOf. This is exactly him living up to my expectations of, like, he's good enough to get to that late game. He's good enough to defend those early pushes and not get steamrolled by somebody like ByuN. But now I'm worried that he's got Ultras. He may be getting a little too cocky. Think, now I've got these units, I just walk in and win. But not quite there yet. ByuN still has a lot of units. He's got a lot of Widow Mines, which is a really interesting aspect to this. But it's worth noting there's not really a lot of Liberators, which Ravagers excel against. So this army composition he has is not the greatest right now. And what I worry about is ByuN is getting that Ghost Academy now as we speak. He's getting upgrades to the Liberators. Everything's so perfect for that late game Terran composition.
Yeah, he's getting everything. Which, I mean, he might not be able to afford with his main and natural being mined out.
Didn't realize Broodlords were out.
He did get both the Ultras Governor and the Spire at the same time. I didn't actually think he was going to invest into them as much as the Ultras, but he did.
Well, whether it's Broodlings or whether it's Corrosive Biles, he is slowly whittling away at the Widow Minefield. Attack does go down to the south, and it's going to kill his 5th base. Kind of sucks, but he's really focused on the army over here.
He needs to decide right now to either push in or pull back, because he's going to lose a 4th and still be stuck in an impasse. So
if he dies to indecisiveness, that'll be really disappointing. I love that he only segments like 1 Ultralisk back, because he knows that's all he really needs. And a couple of Lings. The slow siege up of the Broodlords is kind of working, though. The Corruptor's just kind of giving that sight, continuing to push forward. He's not killing much, but he is killing things. Now the Ultras decide to take that fight. Ravager's getting shots on top of the Liberators. Last Liberator's going to go down.
ByuN will win this fight. His Ultralisk, I don't know what happened with it, but it got like stuck or something on the little bottom edge of a ramp.
He could fungal.
So
He doesn't.
ByuN's army is still killing that 4th base.
Oh wow, this
there
one.
it is finally. Like, I don't know what happened with it. It didn't come with the rest of the army.
Maybe the mineral line dancing is what ended up bugging it out. Dancing it out, he's not able to get there. But now SortOf's he's got no mining bases. That was his last mining base. So while he has his army that was looking good, he bled a little bit of it out too much on the front lines, perhaps. Oh, these will be nice catches for him, though. Getting 3 medevacs and a lot of units with it. Kills a lot of supply for ByuN, but still, no mining is going to hurt for quite some time. And while he did knock down the 4th, this has been up and running. It's a planetary, and ByuN's even looking towards a 5th.
Yeah,
lift up your
unfortunately,
command
it will be an orbital.
centers. Yeah.
So even Ling run buyers are going to be a big threat to that. But maybe if SortOf is really just focusing too much on the main army fight, he won't even remember to start doing those. What's interesting about what Nerdchu did in the situation, if it did get to basically he didn't just win with an ultra push, he did start adding in those Nidus worms.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty cool addition, but SortOf has just never been able to get much of a bang.
No.
So even if he was thinking about it...
that fungal growth, though, that Corsair Bio combo is going to be nasty. Vikings on that front line are not going to be too helpful because there's not a lot more Broodlords where this came from. Ultra's taking a lot of damage and there's nothing to transfuse him. Completely dry on the infestors. He's got to start falling back. Corsair Bio's trading out against units chasing, and SortOf's army supply still looks really good. But without those infestors ready to fungal, he's got to buy time and wait for that energy to tick. Oh, this base is canceled. He needs to get these hatcheries back up. He needs the mining.
He's just getting 6 more infestors. He's like, oh, the infestors are the way to go. This is gonna give me my win.
Well, he has more gas than minerals, so it's actually probably cost effective to do that right now.
That's true too. Thanks to Nuevo for the 28-month resub.
Yeah, and Esben 75 has up for 4 months, a little bit earlier as well, so I get distracted by the action. Looks like Broodlords are gonna get picked off once again. Unfortunate to see them kind of get picked off like this. There's really just nothing to stop the Vikings.
Yeah, and if they get the Overseers, then the Ghosts could come in. Oh, well, we never got Cloak. I don't know about that.
But also SortOf doesn't know that, so this might force him into a bit of an awkward situation sooner than he'd like. Looks like that orbital might go down with the Corsair Bios hitting it. Boom, boom, boom!
Oh. Yeah. Goes down. That is a very... Oh, the snipes went down, though. That's like the perfect ledge you always want to get. Oh, the snipes.
Ugh. Disgusting. Of course, one of the things you're supposed to be able to do is fungal growth the ghosts and stop them from sniping, but they use all their energy. It's a little bit too late. SortOf's army just dissipates, and that's probably going to be game for him. He's going to take a decent fight, as we can see, but the difference is ByuN's going to be able to float another command center over. He's still mining off these bases, where SortOf can only afford Lings and those awkward infestors right now.
Yeah. I mean, ByuN's army is overstimmed, doesn't really have any medevacs.
No, well, actually,
going to kill a lot of his army.
He just threw away the ghosts, which was kind of devastating to see as well. EMP hit some of the infestors, kind of cool over there. This Marines hit every turn, and these 3 Ravagers and 2 Roaches have seriously racked up the kills. 20 on one of them before going down.
Yeah, I mean, those fungals were pretty important. I could have sworn he had 6 more infestors, though I guess those were the ones that came to the front line.
Yeah,
so
I think he lost a bunch, so.
Full fungal.
But you know what's odd? ByuN's army supply... Okay, actually, this one might completely take out all of SortOf's. ByuN's army supply right now, though, might not actually be able to take on this Ultralisk, as silly as that is. The Lings are a problem on top of this, of course, but now SortOf's going to be looking to deny mining, and this will give him time to catch up with his own income, because once again, he is the one who's just getting his mining bases back up. Oh, this is unfortunate. This is really unfortunate.
Oh, that was really nice, though.
Oh, no, this is even more unfortunate. This was costly, too!
Oh, okay. Well, the Ultra may get some serious revenge.
Yeah, but he can't afford to keep building these Ultras if it gets picked off and kited down by those Marauders. This is a really tight game. I did not expect SortOf to bring this so close to ByuN, or more importantly, ByuN to play so close to SortOf. Either way, really impressive to see out of our European Zerg.
Yeah. Well, also, thankfully, like, I'm glad that I wasn't right and that it ended in the mid game, because we get to see the late game Terran response to Zerg, who didn't really, he wasn't crippled in the earlier mid game. He did just get to the late game and was still being, responded to very, very smartly. So now,
what the front door?
There we go.
Alright, go back to mining, trying to get this base back up. I guess ByuN has had to kind of simmer down himself. A lot of what he wants to build now are these 200 mineral cost ghosts, and of course the really expensive liberators to follow that. And unfortunately, like, SortOf has lost a lot of the army that's going to counter either of those things. Not a lot of infestors to throw out the fungal growth to interrupt the snipes. Not a lot of ravagers to focus down the liberators. It's a tough situation to be in.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to remind everyone, because I kind of forgot, that SortOf has already lost a game. So he's not just fighting to show that Ultras are still really good, he's fighting for his life in his bracket.
I wish this was a best of 5, not a best of 3 right now. And that's not because I feel like SortOf may lose here, because he might, but it's just because I would love to see more games between these two. Ghost set up here on the top of this ramp are pretty well positioned to not get interrupted by anything while they try and snipe what little Ultralisks there are. Kind of like big game hunting on like a preserve. There's just easy shots.
Ling counterattack is actually a very good move. There's a bunch of expensive units that don't do well with a lot of units coming out right now, so the Ghosts and Liberators. Well, that SB line's going to go down even with the Liberators sieged up.
Yeah, I like that he pulls these back. I mean, normally you just don't care about the Lings. They're cheap, they're inexpensive, they're expendable, but actually in this part of the game, he needs every single one of them.
ByuN's army does come back to deal with it once and for all. So it gets rid of that. He's up that position that was really nice on top of the plateau, but the base was going to go down, or it almost did. Fungals are not taking care of it, but I guess he did enough damage to find it himself to go back and save his own base.
That saturation, though.
33. It's pretty large. I guess it's a drop going down there. It is a drop. It's full of Marines. These are going to be better usually at killing the drones, less so about killing buildings, but they'll still get the 5th base, or 6th base, if they stim on top of it, because SortOf's army is just entirely out of position. There's nowhere near the right side.
New sub hype, by the way. Shout out to the patent. Thank you very much for subscribing.
That drone transfer. That's where the Marines really shine.
That's gonna hurt. Oh, that's gonna really hurt. Oh no. Oh bother.
Queen's ahead too.
Finds kind of a sweet spot to shoot this out. It's a shame we don't have any more corruptors coming out. Like I feel like one corruptor hovering around these bases and not A moving around would be fantastic. But Infested Terrans get the job done in a pinch. Unfortunately, that's a lot of energy that I think he was hoping to use on an army, not on a single Liberator. So, good game's gonna get called. I do want to state now publicly, because we discussed this last night. We said if SortOf didn't qualify through this qualifier, we were going to invite him back to the tournament and use one of our many invites on him, specifically because he's gotten very far in all of the qualifiers so far. So, he probably doesn't know this because we haven't reached out to him yet. We didn't want to influence him playing games today or not, but I'm hoping he'll take the accept. I hope we'll see him for more. We'll probably, I don't remember which group we're going to invite him for, but either way, congratulations to ByuN as he advances forward to his qualifying match, which is going to be delayed, and we're going to cast that in a bit. We are going to go cast Billowy versus Guru, so it looks like Hearthstone's dad is 1 for 2 or 2 for 4 right now. This will still be a best of 3, but this is a qualifying match between a Zerg and a Protoss to see who makes it through to the groups. So once again, let me load up a couple of ads here from Ting, and then we'll get to these games. So thank you guys for watching. Enjoy these words from our sponsors, and we'll see you guys soon.